Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming back my good friend, Catherine Mary Stewart. Last time we talked about her sci-fi movies like Night of the Comet, The Last Starfighter, Night Flyers, The Annihilator. This time we'll be talking about other films she did, Mischief, World Gone Wild, Scenes from the Goldmine, Weekend at Bernie's, stuff like that, the non-horror sci-fi movies. And I can't wait. She's one of my favorite people in the entire world. And before we begin, though, I'd like to say rest in peace, Stephen Hawking. He passed away yesterday. The great quadriplegic theoretical, I can't pronounce it, scientist, theorist, who lived a long, full life, and despite his limitations, the man was an absolute genius and hero, and he will not be forgotten. Rest in peace, Stephen Hawking. And the ironic part is, Kathy's brothers are scientists, and yeah. This episode falls in perfectly on this day. So, let me call Kathy, and we will get on with the interview.
Hello.
Hey, Kathy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Kind of sadly mourning the loss of Stephen Hawking, though.
I know. Yeah. Actually, it's incredible that he lived as long as he did.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Aren't your brothers scientists?
Yeah, sort of. Not in the same way that he was. But yeah, my brother, one of my brothers is actually, he was like a geologist. Mm-hmm. And did like a weather, which included like being a weatherman and things like that. Then he also ran a science center, and he now runs another science center in our hometown of Edmonton. He's like the director, CEO, the president, CEO of this place called Tellus World of Science. So he's got a really great general, knowledge of science. That's for sure. My dad was a biologist. My mother was a physiologist, so that's where the science is in our family.
And you made science fiction movies.
And I made science fiction, yes. So much more important.
Not quite the same thing, but it's great that the category falls in today's show.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, as I told you when I first met you, Mischief was the first movie I ever saw you in, and that's where I fell in love with you when I was 4 years old and I was up at 2 a.m. with a fever.
Aww, poor little guy. And you got to watch Mischief, that's nice.
Yes, you'll always be Bunny to me, Kathy.
That suits me just fine. Bunny was nice.
Yeah, I remember at that time I was watching Back to the Future a lot, and I also liked Leah Thompson in that. I don't know what it is with you 80s actresses pretending to be girls from the 50s, but it better stop.
It gets you right where it counts, huh?
Yeah. How did you get that role?
Of Bunny in Mischief?
Yeah.
Well, the regular audition process. And it came down to me and Elizabeth Shue. And we were both also up for series. And it really came down to whoever didn't get the series, or the series, we weren't up for it. We'd done a pilot, and they were seeing if the pilot would go through. And if it did, then the other person whose pilot didn't go through got the role of Bunny. So Elizabeth Shue happened to get a series, and I didn't. So,
wow.
So I got the role.
Wow. Did you and her have like the same management?
Nope, not at all. Completely different places.
Just the complete coincidence that you two happen to be up for the same parts.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of movies and television is all, it's sort of, the deal is done within one of the big agencies or something like that. But it wasn't done so much that way back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. We were both from relatively small agencies, I think, and they just had a general casting call, and she and I answered it, and it got down to the two of us.
Wow. And
yeah.
Was the Ohio weather pretty bad? Because it looks like it's forecast most of the movie.
What do you mean? It looks like it was forecast?
Yeah, like the weather in the movie looks like it was raining on and off when you were shooting.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
I don't recall that it was. I don't recall that the weather was that bad. I haven't really thought about it, but I don't remember it being rainy all the time. It was in the summer, so,
Oh.
I believe we shot it in the summer. Gosh, I don't even remember the time of year. I know it wasn't winter. I think it was the summer. So it was pretty nice. Maybe the spring.
I see.
Yeah.
It's got this great mixture of coming of age with like raunchy sex humor that is played for realism instead of shock value like Porky's.
Right. Yes. Well, the story behind Mischief is it was called Heart and Soul originally, and
yep.
it had a much sort of somber tone to it. It wasn't at all a sex romp. It was truly kind of a exploration of coming of age in the 50s, and it had a kind of a darker tone, I want to say, but when it was in post-production and ready for release, hands changed at 20th Century Fox, the studio that was, producing it. And they decided they didn't really like the feel of the thing. And they wanted to turn it, it's amazing. It's incredible what you can do in editing. You can take a movie that is dark and sort of somber and, kind of it deep in a way and make it appear to be a sex romp.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the original intention at all. So it was truly a matter of a film getting caught up in politics at a studio, at a major studio, and whoever became, in charge of that stuff decided they wanted something lighter and, fresher and porkier, I guess. So maybe that's why you notice, that's why you recognize that it's sort of there's more kind of character development as opposed to just sheer shock value,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, my favorite scene is when Jonathan gets a hard-on in class and everybody looks like they're having a good time laughing.
Yeah, that's a guy thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, as a girl, we're like, what's wrong? What's going on with him? It doesn't immediately occur to me that the poor guy's got a hard-on for some reason. That was sort of, I guess, poor teenage boys. I wouldn't want to be one for the life of me.
Yeah.
I guess the male audience could totally relate to that, right?
Of course, yeah. But just like everybody's just like sounds like they're just genuinely laughing, though,
Oh yeah, well, the idea of it. I mean, it's pretty funny, the whole idea. And then Doug McKeon is such a great actor. I mean, he played it so beautifully, very subtle. Yet you could tell he was sweating, man. He was so afraid that the teacher would figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. The sex scene between Jonathan and Marilyn, that was the first sex scene I ever saw in my life. And it fucked me up bad at that age.
Oh, well, yeah. What did you say? You were 4?
Yeah.
Did you even know it was going on?
I didn't know anything that was going on. And I don't know. I liked what I saw, but I didn't know what was going on. And I remember I was disappointed that Gene and Bunny didn't have one either, but now that I'm older, I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, me too.
Because it didn't.
They're not much fun to do, you know. It's like it's such a drag because you're sitting on a set with cameras and crew around. I think they probably had a closed set for Kelly, but it's not the most comfortable thing to do. I think they pulled it off really well as well. You know, they were very mature about the whole thing, as was the cast, as was the director and the crew, and because it's not easy, it's not fun. And Kelly Preston must have been pretty young at that time as well. So it wasn't fun for her to do.
No, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
But the romance between Gene and Bunny was sweet, and it didn't need to be cheapened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I kind of just dug the idea that the good girl's going after the bad boy, which is a classic storyline, but that she sees the good side of him. He's a good person, and he's abused, and that's where a lot of the anger comes from, and I think she's the one person that actually gets him. So they tried to show that in a mature way. And again, that was the Bunny Gene stuff was much more prevalent in the original script because they were really exploring that dynamic. But when it became more of a, light kind of comedy, sex romp kind of a thing, that stuff was just sprinkled in more than in the original script. But that's okay. I loved the role, and I loved working with Chris Nash. We had a great time together. Mm-hmm. The set itself was really super fun. I mean, all these kids, I was probably the oldest one on the set, and they were just having a really great time. This group of kids in the middle of Ohio. There was lots of prankstering going on and joking, and it was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. What was it like working with Jamie Gertz? I love her. She's beautiful.
Yeah, she is beautiful. Great, such a good actress, obviously. Great head on her shoulders. Really, just a really nice person. I mean, I just loved her in this role as well because you don't really think of Jamie Gertz in this sort of goofy, nerdy sort of role, and she pulled that off so fantastically. I thought, she and I used to go up for a lot of things together. We would be up for the same role for a lot of stuff. So I saw a lot of her. She was a really good person. She is a good person. I sound like she's dead, but she's not. I don't think.
Yeah, I love how you lose your Canadian accent and you talk like this, 50s teenage girl. It's really lovely.
Do I normally have a Canadian accent when you talk to me?
Yeah, it's like semi-baritone, operatic like, but in the movie it's just really sweet and elegant, and I just love it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that is always a consideration for me anyway when I take a role is kind of the tone of your voice. Some roles demand that you have a lot lower sort of mature voice. I remember in Dudes, I don't know if you ever saw Dudes, but
I love that movie.
Yeah, Penelope Ferris was really insistent that I went into the lower register of my voice for that role. So I had to work on that because a lot of the roles that I'd played up to that time were younger than I was.
Yeah. So,
if you sort of raise your voice a little bit, you sound younger. You know what I mean? But this woman that I played in Dudes is like a very strong, very independent, very world-wise, woman, and Penelope Ferris really wanted that to come across in the tenor of my voice as well as my action. So I thought, that's something you really consider when you're kind of breaking down a character.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you did Scenes from the Goldmine, great movie, great cast. How did that movie come to you?
I was offered that movie. And again, it was one of those things. What appealed to me about it was, what a great fantasy to be a rock and roll chick. I mean, I used to say about that role specifically, I get to live vicariously through. What's her name? D'Angelo. Something D'Angelo. Do you remember what her name was?
Beverly D'Angelo?
Beverly D'Angelo. No, I don't think so. Something. I can find it here. What was it? It's on mine. Beverly D'Angelo is like the... did you say Beverly or Debbie?
Beverly.
Yeah, that's an actress, I think. Debbie D'Angelo is her name.
Yes.
So it was fun. There's lots of elements, kind of complex, multi-dimensional elements in that. This is a girl struggling to be a musician. She finally gets a shot at it, and then she's deceived by somebody she trusted more than anyone. By this guy, Cameron Diaz's character stealing her music, but also in a way she's sort of deceived by her own brother, who she's been so dependent on in a way through their lives. They've just been so close. Who gets so involved with drugs and ends up overdosing.
Yeah.
So it was quite a challenging role on so many different levels, trying to come across as a true musician and having all these conflicts in her life that she has to deal with. And, I liked it. I found it very challenging, Matt.
Yeah, it's got a great commentary on intellectual property in the music business. And you got to work with some great musicians like John Ford Coley, Timothy B. Schmidt of the Eagles, Lee Ving. Were you intimidated at all?
I remember Timothy B. Schmidt from the Eagles,
right,
because he sang one of my favorite songs ever, and around the time that I was in high school. Best of My Love, and I used to just sob over that song when I was a teenage girl. So I was just like, oh my God! I was pretty enamored with him, I have to say, and of course I was really familiar with John Ford Coley's stuff too. England Dan and John Ford Coley. I knew them really well from that. These guys are so nice. Timothy B. Schmidt sort of kept to himself a little bit, but John Ford Coley is just like one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. So that was a pleasure. I felt very, because I had to sing my own stuff and try to pretend I was a musician, he was so supportive of all that with me. I always felt like when I was around him, I felt legit, He made me feel that way.
Yeah, my dad used to play John Ford Coley and England Dan Seal's album a lot when I was a kid. He had it on vinyl.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Those are the days, the vinyl days. And Melissa Etheridge wrote some of the songs. She and I became good friends at that time. I haven't seen her in years and years, but
she's in the movie.
She wrote a lot of the music. So that was very cool as well, and getting to know her.
Pamela Springsteen has a role in the movie. She went to high school with my dad.
Oh, you're kidding. Wow.
Oh, yeah, they used to go to parties together. My dad's older than she is, but she's in the same class as my uncle. And because he was older, they used to hang around him because he had access to alcohol and marijuana and all that.
Where was that, in New York or somewhere?
No, in San Mateo, California, because...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because after Bruce graduated high school, the family moved to California, and then when he hit it big with Born to Run, they moved to San Mateo, and that's where my dad met her.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, actually...
Yeah, this is I'm looking at it on IMDb, just, reminiscing about the cast. It's an incredible cast.
Yeah.
Joe Pantoliano, Alex Rocco, who sadly passed away. Some really good actors in this thing.
Yeah, what was it like working with Lotus Weinstock?
Lotus Weinstock. Lotus Weinstock.
Lotus, yeah.
I thought you said Louis Weinstock. I'm trying to remember. I honestly don't recall him.
Her.
See, that's how much I don't recall them. Lotus, what role did she play?
She played Rosanna.
Honestly, it's so funny. Well, it's not that funny. It was a long time ago. I mean, come on, catch me a break here.
The reason I ask is because she was a really funny stand-up comedian. She's no longer with us, but she was really funny.
Oh, she passed away?
Yeah, like back in the mid-'90s or something.
Oh, sad. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what role she had. And I mean, like, I'm trying to picture her character in the movie, and I just am having trouble doing that right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie in a long time either.
Mm.
But Jewel Shepard, Jewel, I know Jewel a little bit. She's really funny, and I've hung out with her. But what was your experience like working with her?
It was great. I mean, you know, we were like besties in the movie, so we really got to know each other quite well. I mean, she's a really funny, smart human being. You know, yep. She cracks me up, and it's so funny how many people we know in common. She's a lovely human being for sure.
Yeah, I do a really good impression of her.
Oh, you do? Can I hear it?
Of course. I've done it for a couple guests on the show. Oh my God, Mother! Like, I didn't even totally suck his cock yet. You know how Jewel talks.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good.
You should actually see me do it because I can do her jawline pretty good with my upper lip.
Her jawline with your upper lip. I would like to see that for sure.
Oh, I'll definitely show it to you next time I see you.
Okay.
And then you did World Gone Wild.
Uh-huh.
You got to work with some legends in that movie. Bruce Dern.
Oh, no kidding.
Adam Ant, Michael Pare, who was one of my heroes when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that movie like for you?
You know, one of the things I love the best about this business is that you do get to pretend you're different people all the time in completely different circumstances and truly live vicariously through these characters. You don't actually have to be them, you know, and live in their horrible circumstance. You could just pretend for a while. And that's so gratifying to me. I feel like I'm so lucky that I get to do this kind of stuff. And one of the things with World Gone Wild is I realize that I am a big fan of end-of-the-world kind of apocalyptic movies. Yep. This is something I've sort of discovered about myself recently, actually. And I think that was one of the things that really attracted to me, even if it was in my subconscious, about World Gone Wild. I mean, I've also been a big fan of the desert. I love the earth, and I love dry, and I love warm or hot. And so just being in that kind of climate was very appealing to me. And having this sort of sense of there has been an apocalypse, and this is the results. And the character, it was sort of starting from scratch. She sort of had a bunch of books lying around. I guess she knows how to read, but there's no history for her. She doesn't have, her parents died when she was very young. You know, she has no foundation. So she becomes the school teacher. Maybe it's because she's the only one who could read or something, but she's literally starting from scratch. She doesn't really know how to teach. She's read about, you know, etiquette, and so she tries to be very polite in the way that it's written in the book, but no real experience, you know. I love that concept of just starting as a young adult with a clean slate and trying to make sense of the civilization that you live in at this point. That was very cool to me. She was also very kind of naive because of that, because she had no foundation to draw from.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was and, you look at Bruce Dern, his character had been through it all. He was the antithesis of my character. Yeah. And just kind of their dynamic, I love that. And of course, Michael Pare is, wonderful actor and just drop dead gorgeous.
Yes,
It was not an issue for me to be like a love interest for Michael Pare.
Yeah, it's this crazy mixture of cheesy sci-fi and action with like a Cold War, nuclear war plot that was really relevant at the time.
Yeah. I just thought it was an interesting take on things, and it was an original take. It was all about water, just who had water. And Adam Ant went around the country or whatever looking for water and killing everybody in his path. I love it. So just this despot, Mm-hmm. And oh my God, he was evil. He was so good at that, and he stayed in character. This was not somebody you sort of had a friendly beer with. Certainly not me. At the end of the day, he was into this character, man. He was committed, 110%.
Yeah, was it the physically demanding role too?
For him or for me?
For you.
Oh, not particularly. I don't think there was that much action. No, not really. I used to sit on top of one of the makeup trailer or something and just lie in the sun in between shots. I wasn't that physically demanding. I used to love the sun. So this was like the perfect set for me.
Yeah. Alan Autry, I love him. I hate his politics, but I love him as an actor, and he's great in it. Yeah. And then you did Weekend at Bernie's, and I was 7 years old when I first saw this movie. I could not turn on HBO or Cinemax from like summer of 90 to winter of 91 without seeing it on TV. And I remember just being mortified the first time I saw it, because I was thinking to myself, is this what's going to happen when I'm dead? People are going to toss my body around?
I was thinking when you mentioned that you saw Mischief when you were 4, I'm like, who would you watch Mischief at 4? And then you're 7 watching Weekend. You had a pretty open household, apparently. Or did your parents not really pay much attention, or they were into, you just watching whatever it is you wanted to watch?
It was semi-open, because with Mischief, we had it on tape, and I couldn't watch that movie. But one night I just snuck out and stole the tape from our shelf and watched it while my family was asleep.
Oh, and you were sick, you said.
Yeah, I was sick. But I was sick, and I was up, and I just thought it was a great opportunity to do it since nobody was awake, because I hadn't been used to being up that late,
Yeah, well, you took advantage of it in the way that has to be done.
Yeah, and Weekend at Bernie's.
But you were traumatized. That's the sad thing. And then Weekend at Bernie's, you're traumatized by that. I can imagine as 7 years old thinking, "Oh my gosh, is that what happens when you die?" But I assume you've learned since then that that's not exactly what happens.
Well, my parents told me at the time that it was just a silly movie and stuff, and then I grew to love it just because you were in it, and plus I've always liked Terry Kaiser.
Yeah, Terry Kaiser is great.
I met him last year at Monsterpalooza, and I had one of the most pleasant conversations I've ever had with anybody. He was just the sweetest man.
He's a really good guy. He's a really, really sweet guy. Yeah, for sure.
Didn't he fall asleep a lot, and Ted Koch purposely didn't tell him the camera had stopped rolling?
No, he couldn't fall asleep because he had to not be breathing. He had to hold his breath while they were shooting him. So, the joke is that they the scene that I saw anyway was when he was in his office when he was first, murdered, I guess, got the injection and was killed. They were shooting that scene, and then they just there wasn't any dialogue or anything like that, and it was just like, you know, the guy goes and kills him, and then we just look at him, and obviously he's dead. But Ted Kovac was just like, okay, he sort of was, without saying anything, telling the cameraman to keep rolling. And they just waited and waited and waited, because Terry had to hold his breath until Terry finally was like, you know, gasping. It was funny for us. I don't know how he felt about it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Did you get offered that role?
I auditioned for that. I auditioned with Ted Kovac and Jonathan Silverman in Ted's office. And I remember going in there being very excited to do that, to audition for this movie, because it was a pretty, you know, a pretty big deal for me.
Yeah.
And I got in there and I read with Jonathan, and I screwed up my lines.
Oh.
I was like, I don't know, I blanked or something. I put too much pressure on myself, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've done this. I can't believe I've screwed up this opportunity. I was just so upset, and I went home and I phoned my manager. I'm like, I can't believe I screwed up. I was just really super upset. But they ended up offering it to me. So go figure.
Yeah, I read that Jonathan Silverman and Andrew McCarthy were originally going to play opposite roles.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess because Andrew McCarthy was bigger at the time, and Jonathan Silverman was doing a lot of supporting roles at the time, but then I guess they thought that it would be better the other way around. I certainly think it did. I mean, I think Andrew McCarthy, he provides really good comic relief that I'm sure a lot of people didn't know he had, you know.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity for him, playing that particular role. Just sort of the deadpan, you know, antagonist in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really super funny in that.
The scene where Catherine Parks comes out of the bedroom, you know.
Yeah.
That was the only scene in the entire movie Roger Ebert laughed at.
Is that right?
Yeah,
she was fantastic. Wasn't she wonderful in that? I don't know what happened to Catherine. She was a lovely person too, but boy, she was funny in that. In that scene, I mean, come on. Nobody could have done it better.
Yeah. I know she does conventions once in a while because she was in Friday the 13th Part 3.
Oh, she was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Terry Kaiser was in Part 7, ironically.
Oh, I'm looking at her up here. She was in Days of Our Lives.
Yep.
As Mitzi Rumley. I don't think she overlapped when I was on Days of Our Lives, but it's a small world.
Yeah, but yeah, I love that scene a lot. And that was 5 years before Kevin Smith would do a similar scene in Clerks.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I don't think I ever saw Clerks.
It's a very raunchy comedy, but it's very, very funny, and it's very witty though.
Yeah, cool.
You know, but what was your feeling when you found out you were going to be seeing Ted Kovac walking around in boxer shorts?
Well, you know what? I didn't know that he was going to play that role at all. So yeah, it was pretty gross, actually.
Yeah.
He's a big man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like completely taken off guard. I didn't realize that the director was going to play this role. So, and then Andrew McCarthy directed the scene. I think this was one of his very first directing gigs. He does a lot of directing now, but yeah. So I think it probably helped in terms of character and the shock value for me, or for the character Gwen. Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'm watching it last night for the 100th time, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, God, was this necessary? He's got these boxer shorts on, and I can see his deep innie belly button. I didn't want to see that.
Yeah, you try not to look too hard.
Yeah. I was always disappointed, though, that you weren't in the sequel.
Well, yeah, they took it to a different place, you know. We went for a younger, sexier female protagonist.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't even know they were making a sequel, so that's how much they wanted me involved.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad. But, you know, I guess I think that the Weekend at Bernie's that really stands out in most people's minds is the first one, so I feel good about that.
Of course, yeah. Terry told me that when Don Calfa found out that he wasn't in the sequel, he called him up and said, "Terry, I'm not in the sequel," you know?
I did call him up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know. I didn't even know they were making a Weekend at Bernie's until after it was done already, so, yeah, I didn't think of calling anybody. I should have called him and said, "Wait, I need to be in this."
Yeah, it was a pretty bad sequel. Even Barry Bostwick, who's great in everything, he couldn't save it.
Yeah. Well, it's that's the thing that happens sometimes with sequels, right? They just don't. You try to cash in on the magic of the first one, and sometimes it's just really, really hard. Most of the time, I think it's impossible to do a sequel. Although I would love to do a sequel for The Last Starfighter.
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that. The other day, I was watching Kevin Smith does a weekly audience Q&A show on YouTube, and the guy that was co-hosting with him said that he's like a Hollywood insider. He said that the guy who wrote The Last Starfighter, Jonathan Butel, is that how his name's pronounced? Mm-hmm. He's got the rights to the script, but he won't let anybody touch it. And he said that a couple people who have been interested in trying to do it is Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg and Steven Spielberg, which surprised me because he should not that the production crew of yours did a good job, but Spielberg should have been involved with it in the original, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure if I agree with you or not. When The Last Starfighter was made, CGI was just at its very inception. I mean, they were literally creating programs for CGI for The Last Starfighter. So this little movie is kind of like the foundation of all the CGI that you see nowadays. And I don't know if I don't know if it would have been as sweet or sort of unassuming kind of a movie that it turned out to be if Steven Spielberg was involved with it, since he's so into the huge, exciting action kind of thing. And one of the things that's nice about The Last Starfighter is it's not so much that. It's small and sweet and intimate, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't mean that like he should have done it, but like he should have, it's like everything that was like out at the time, like he had his name on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't have his name on that movie. That's what I mean by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, he was probably busy.
Probably, yeah. But I remember when I was 7, watching Weekend at Bernie's and thinking to myself, not only did you look gorgeous in that movie, Kathy,
thank you,
but you had this glow about you, and it seemed to me that you had this newfound maturity in your acting style because you had transitioned from playing teenage roles to young adult roles, and your presence and comedic timing was so good in it. I thought that this was going to be the movie that launched you into superstardom like Michelle Pfeiffer at that time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
That's nice. Well, thank you. You don't have much control over circumstance, so it didn't hurt, but it also around that time I was doing a lot of I did a lot of television after that as well. Then I got married and had kids, and that sort of I put a lot of stuff on hold. So it is what it is, and I'm grateful that I was in the movie, and I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much.
Of course, I do mean that too. So let me wrap this up by telling you a couple jokes. Do you prefer clean or raunchy?
I can go either way. Give me one clean and one raunchy.
Oh, that's great. Do you get offended by jokes about Canada?
No.
Okay, here's a clean Canada joke I found that just made me laugh out loud. What do you call a black comedy movie about Canada?
I have no idea what.
It's Always Snowing in Winnipeg. Had me on the floor laughing.
That's pretty funny.
Because it's so true. Okay, this is my favorite raunchy joke of all time. I've told it many times on the show. A bear and a rabbit are taking a shit in the woods. The bear says to the rabbit, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a problem with shit sticking to your fur?" The rabbit says no. So the bear wiped his ass with the rabbit.
That's a mean bear. But that is very, very funny.
Yeah, and then the rabbit died from the stink. That's my own punchline.
Aw. That poor rabbit had no chance.
I know. I told that joke to Diane Franklin, and she was like, "Wow, I didn't see that one coming." And I was like, "Yeah, well, neither did he." And she really laughed at that.
That is another really sweet person. When did you talk to Diane? Recently?
Yeah, well, she was my first guest. You were my second.
Oh, wow.
She was my 60th, and now you're my 66th.
Wow, look at you. How long have you been doing this now?
66 episodes, so it's been 11 months.
And you're enjoying it?
Oh, I'm enjoying it a lot more now than I did in the beginning, because I don't know if you noticed, from the first time we talked, I was a little nervous, and I stammered a lot, and just now I'm a lot more confident, just putting myself out there and stuff, and it's going really well. And people like her, people like you coming back, and for a second, third interview, whatever, and just having appreciation for what I do. So
yeah. Terrific. Well, no, we appreciate you asking us. I'm sure I speak for Diane as well, but I certainly appreciate you asking. And, it's a good way for me to keep my fans updated, too, on what's going on.
Absolutely. I went to Silver Scream Festival last month, and I saw Kelly Maroney there, and I interviewed her, and it's on YouTube. It's a really fun. It's a really
all three of the hot foods I'm going to show you right now are made.
No, I can't stop it.
What happened?
Sorry. Are you there?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
All of a sudden my computer starts talking really loud.
Yeah, no, it's a really cute and funny interview we did for like 5 minutes. And yeah, I'm just enjoying doing this.
Good for you. Good for you. We'll keep at it.
Yes, I'd like to have you back on soon to talk about the 30th anniversary of Dudes.
Oh, okay.
Would you like to do that?
Cool.
Yeah, it's on Blu-ray now, right?
Probably.
Yeah, I think I saw a Blu-ray advertisement for it somewhere.
Cool. Yeah. That was a fun movie to do, and I'm glad it kind of came and went pretty quickly, but I'm glad it's getting some exposure to a wider, broader audience for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Kathy. And,
thank you.
You have a great day, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. Let me know when it's out there, okay? Send me a link.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to send it to you right away.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot.
Okay, bye-bye.
Talk to you later.
Well, there you have it. Catherine Mary Stewart. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Kathy. That was an awesome second interview we did, and we will do the Dudes episode pretty soon. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page, and follow me on Twitter, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, but because the present sucks. Later, dudes.